Hello and welcome to another episode of Rallying the Forge. I am Solymr, and in today's episode, we're going to review some of the deck pulls I got from the Axes and Allies Legendary Drop Warrior set. Overall, between my son and myself, we opened like 250 decks, roughly, and there's maybe a dozen interesting decks. I don't know if any are really bonkers. There's a couple that are very interesting that could be potentially competitive in some fashion, but you never know. So I've pulled up a dozen decks to kind of show you what we got, and just so you can see what you might be able to get from the set itself if you decide to pull some packs. So we'll jump in, and we're kind of going to go from interesting to maybe good stuff. That's the rough scale here. So this deck here, only thing cool with it is my son got this. He got a Betrayer Shambler. So of course, if you have a double or triple Shamble deck, you can make it a quad Shamble when you get a Betrayer. So he got a Biting Shambler. Otherwise, the deck not great. Obviously has some Warriors, some other cards. Just have Betrayer Grimgaunt Predator. So in this set, you can get double Betrayers. He got a Shambler and a Predator, and in every case I've seen, it's always the same faction. So that's okay. So two good Betrayers though. Grimgaunt Predator, of course, is really good, and Biting Shambler. Shamblers are always good. So the stats on the Shambler are just okay, but he does have at the end of the deck cycle, he can be pumped up. So if you play him late in a cycle or somehow get him to survive, that can work into your benefit. So like I said, this deck, not that great, but it does have a cool Betrayer Shambler. This deck here, of course, Betrayer Ghost Crown Null. This was my first Ghost Crown I pulled. So it's pretty cool. It's a Spirit Warrior. So Spirit synergies, of course, fit with Uterra. And Ghost Crown Null is a pretty interesting creature. Obviously, you want a way to destroy creatures to get him to be pumped up when he comes into play. That way, when he is removed from play, he can pump something else up pretty sizably. Again, this deck, not great. I did get double Betrayer, Marching Siphoner, so Necrium. Just an interesting deck, nothing special with it, but cool to get a Betrayer Legendary. This deck my son pulled, and I was hoping I would get one, but I did not. He got KC Kid with Core Kidrith. So got the brothers together. Apparently there's been a few other people who've gotten this. I had not seen any posted, but this is pretty cool to see. They're both really good cards in their own right. So this deck's not bad. Got Devouring Spirit, which can be good. Dreadbolt for removal. Infernal Ritual can be a good spell to have. Soul Scourge Grimgaunt can benefit from stuff like that. Zymus, of course. So not a bad deck at all, but it was definitely cool to see the brothers in the same deck for the first time. I hadn't seen a set 4 one, so I had questioned whether they could even be in the same deck or not, but we see they can be here. Next up, got a Betrayer Soltar. So Soltar, of course, at level 3, he has a little combo he can do with Blighted Ironbeard. When he's got that 100 armor, he can basically blast for that armor towards a creature, and all the excess damage goes to the player. So you can basically one-shot them. So that's my first Betrayer Soltar. Pretty cool to get. Got some cool cards in the deck with it as well. Taliesin, Uterra Charger, Charred Plate, Behemoth, even though it's not a warrior. It's got good stats. It's a beast, so there's synergies you can still find with it. We got some pump cards with Uterra.nest, Savage Oath. So just overall, looks like a decent deck. I don't know if I'll build that gimmick build up. I don't know if I have a good Blighted Ironbeard for it or not, but it's definitely something to at least consider and look at. Okay, so another Ghost Crown Null deck. This one is Necrium, though. I liked this one because, well, one, Pestilence is a great spell, but also this has Soul Harvest and Sacrificial Strength, so you have some destruction capabilities within the deck for Ghost Crown Null, assuming you have the board presence to be able to sacrifice things. But there's nice Soul Harvest. Of course, you can destroy a creature, play it for free, which then you could play Ghost Crown Null, buffed up. Casey Kidd's in the deck, which is really good. SolScourge Grimgaunt. Of course, later in the game, Casey Kidd can reanimate a creature, any creature. So SolScourge Grimgaunt could benefit from like a board wipe action. You can have Casey Kidd out there and reanimate SolScourge Grimgaunt if you wanted. He'd come out huge. So there's always that. Otherwise, the deck's just okay, but it's interesting. I think it could be something to potentially try to build around if Ghost Crown Null proves to be a really strong card. But we'll see how that goes. Don't really know yet how strong he's going to be. Next up, we have a 5 warrior, 5 spell Tempest deck, set 4. You can ignore Tundra, he sucks. But the spells are pretty good, minus White Fang Pass. But you do have 5 warriors, only warriors. You have a Betrayer Captain in the deck. You do have Summoning Swarm and Storm Strike in the same deck. So you could pivot to a minion type strategy, pair it with something that could benefit from that. There's options there. Or you've got 5 warriors and a captain. You could pair it up with another deck with a captain and really take advantage of that. So I really liked this one. This would be something I would definitely look to try to find some pairs for with the warriors and or with the minions. Definitely, the other half definitely has to have some finishing stuff to it, but I think there's potential there for having a good board presence and just overwhelming your opponent. Baton the Decimator, another legendary. He's another player card. He won an event in the UK. I haven't played with the card. The card's very interesting. Strikes a random enemy creature. When he slays, he gets plus stats. This might be I only got a couple Batons to begin with, but this one might be the best one I've gotten. It's got Baton, of course, but then you've got Uterra Forebearer and Verdant Watch in the same deck, so you can do some big pumping up on your creatures with those two. We do have a Druid, so be able to play some Oak Fathers, replace creatures later on. We have Lycian Rain and Summoning Council for some minion go wide strategies. War Machine for replacement with on the wisps that we get. Aryan Kest is a great betrayer to have. Botanimate, of course, and then Forced Raid is the new spell. I like every card in this deck. By no means am I saying this is going to be amazing, but I think there's a lot of potential here. Again, you could even pair this with the deck I just talked about, with the warriors and the minions. This has a lot of minion synergy with the Lycian Rain and Summoning Council. A lot of pump. You could also pair it with the Ghost Crown Null deck where you're sacking things. I don't know. A lot of options here. I really like this deck. I think it's got potential to be something decent. Did they change the wording on this? So I don't know if they changed the wording or added the wording, but it used to say if this is a warrior, it gets 2/2. It battles an enemy creature, and maybe it's for how the game does it. But the it battles an enemy creature was meant that it would always battle, no matter what. It didn't have to be a warrior to battle. So maybe they added it for clarifying purposes. I don't know. Just noticed that though. But I really like this deck. I think this deck is definitely going to be something that gets built out. Next up, we have a Betrayer Core Kidrith deck with a Soul Scourge Grimgaunt and Endless Hunt. Soul Scourge Grimgaunt and Endless Hunt, of course, are both set 4. You've seen that combo before plenty of times. But now it's a warrior-themed deck, and we've got the cool thing we got is a Vicious Butcher, of course, which has huge, great slay triggers, and it's got decent stats as a vicious creature. Definitely like that. You could also pair Dark Lingerer with it. It can, when it slays, another creature gets pumped up, so you put that on your Vicious Butcher at level 3, and he can go to town and pump your other creatures up. But this is just an interesting deck. Don't know if it'll be really that good or not, but the Dark Lingerer and Vicious Butcher combo really was kind of intriguing to me. It could be really a one-creature wrecking crew, so to speak. Next up, we have a double legendary deck. So Verlana for the legendary drop is legendary, and I thought maybe they did that so that way she wouldn't appear with Varia in the same deck. But because I got both of these, I questioned whether that I was right or not. I thought that's why they made her legendary, or maybe they just wanted to change the odds to lower the odds. I don't know. But Betrayer Verlana, of course, Crimson's notorious for having a double Verlana deck that's super annoying. So now I can make one and play him and make it super annoying for him. But also the other cool thing with this deck is it's 5 creatures, 5 spells, and we have an Endless Hunt in the deck. Of course, which works great with Verlana, who's a warrior. We do have the new spell Overwhelm. We have Redact for some removal. Duplication Dome can have some shenanigans with it. Can also pump creatures up if they have deploying to play them in that lane. We do have a prepared creature, so you can ready a creature, which can be Verlana. Rage Scale Dragon, he's in the warrior set because he's got warrior synergy. Not that great, just gets plus attack for it. But if you have other creatures in other decks, you can always make him get the beast or dragon buffs. So it's neat. And it's got a specimen who's typically an underrated card, in my opinion. If you have a good board presence, he just adds to that with his high health, and then at level 3 he'll do 22 damage to a creature or player if you don't take damage on a turn. If you play like a control style with double Verlana or something, that might be something that could work out, where you're constantly keeping their board pretty clear, not taking a lot of damage, and you get to ping them from time to time. 22 damage is a lot for one ping, though. But interesting deck. Not as many warriors as I thought. So that's a warrior scientist. She's a warrior, and that's it. 2 warriors, but it was cool. Double legendary. Betrayer Verlana. I don't think I had any Betrayer Verlanas before, but I do now, and I got one with Endless Hunt because I got a double Betrayer. So awesome. Like it. I like the spell package. Yeah, I really like this one. This will be definitely something I look to potentially build, if for nothing else, to play Crimson with. This deck here was probably my favorite pull, and I got a Betrayer Grimgaunt Predator and a Betrayer Sacrifice Chamber in the same deck. So that was really cool. Don't know anything else about the rest of the deck as far as will it be good? Probably not. But Grimgaunt Predator and Sack Chamber together is a fun gimmick combo where you can potentially clear your opponent's board if it's on level, on cycle. So pretty cool there. You also got both Torgmize, the Mender, and the Guardian together in the same deck. So that's cool. We did get the new Force Raid spell, so maybe there's something there to pair it with. Get some bonus out of Warriors. Because you're not going to want to use the Predator, Seraph, Everwatch. You could use the Torgmize Guardian potentially. You could do it with the Forebear to sack him, basically. Have him kill himself to be able to pump something else up, maybe. I do like the spells. Dendrify and Nature's Progression are really nice. Force Raid good, Sack Chamber good. So overall, I think a pretty decent deck. This might be something that I do look to build at some point with another Grimgaunt Predator Sack Chamber. Maybe double up on it. Give you double the odds of pulling it off. But that was definitely cool. Next up, we got a Apocalypser deck with a Betrayer Core Kidrith, suppressing reinforcements. There's no rallying in here. There's no Drix. There's not a lot of minion generation. We do have Drone Hive. I don't know if this will necessarily be any good, but it was interesting enough. Core Kidrith, of course. You play spells. You can play a Wisp at higher levels. He plays a creature for free. So it's just the thought. You know, it's kind of like another... If you play a spell, it's kind of like another version of having a Voss with an Apocalypser potentially, where if you replace something, in this case you're playing something that you can replace for Apocalypser purposes. Again, probably not the strongest Apocalypser build, but it is warrior synergistic, and in that regard, pretty cool. And it does have suppressing in there, which could be a good modifier to have. And then the last deck we're going to talk about, we have a Shambling Shambler. That was a nice pull with a bunch of warriors. We have, of course, Soul Scourge Grimgaunt and Endless Hunt in a set 1 deck. We did get a Betrayer Siphoner. Or not Betrayer Siphoner, sorry. We got a Siphoner, which is also from set 4. We did get 2 Hematophagic creatures, Ranger and Strider. Ranger's the Betrayer. So, again, not sure how good this deck will be, but it is a Shambling Shambler deck, so always something to look at. It does have a decent Seriously with Destroy or Death Touch and Life Drain at cycles 2 and 3, and Soul Siphon on cycle 4, which is okay. I guess you could proc a Shambling trigger if Shambler's on the board. So, just a decent deck. It's got a Dreadbolt. Gloom Reaper Hag's a great creature to have. Good common. Soul Scourge Grimgaunt's a good common. So, it's got some potential to it. Again, none of these decks were knocked my socks off, so to speak. It's only 250 decks, so it's not a super large sample size, but I don't know. Nothing stood out as like this deck. I had maybe 2 decks there. The Tempest Warrior, 5 Warrior, 5 spell deck, and the Betrayer Verlana deck are probably the 2 that I was most excited about. I'm not excited for any of the new Sunders I got. I got 3 of the 4 versions. I didn't get the Uterra version, but because it only comes out in cycle 4, it seems counterproductive to play a deck like that when set 4 and maybe not intentionally, but the Dino Legendary drop really pushed aggressive decks, that archetype forward, and with set 4 with the Dark Forge decks in particular, but also because their level 1 creatures are generally bigger than the previous sets. So there's a lot of, right now still, a lot of people are still playing life gain Krogaius decks. Infinite combos aren't a thing online, but in physical they are. So you still have a lot of those being played, so you could go with a slower route with that. But I don't feel like these cards, the Living Forgeborns, are strong enough that they don't have the impact of a level 3 Krogaius. And I don't necessarily think that they have to be that strong, but they should be borderline that strong. Like, they should be up there, and not just with stats and numbers, but what their effect is in the game. And I feel like the Aloyan version could be really good, but you'd want that earlier in the game, like a cycle 3 version of it would be really good, because then with the Mantis you could potentially pull it out in cycle 2. But really, what I was looking forward to that one was with the Glacier, where you can move it around, ping them a bunch, but waiting till cycle 4, playing that style of a deck, a Glacier deck wants to be aggressive and ping them a lot early, and just, I don't know. There's a lot of other options to play a late, cycle 3, cycle 4 type of match, and I think there's a lot better decks to do that with than the new Sunder decks. So we'll see. I imagine there's going to be some good decks that do come out of all these legendary drops, but I think they're going to be few and far between. So maybe they won't break things as much as we thought they might, but definitely some fun potential, if nothing else. So I do have some Beakers and Bones, that's the Scientist Legendary Drop Set, booster packs to give out. So I'm going to have 2 to give away. So I have 2 trivia questions for you guys. So the first trivia question is, what is the name of the campaign buff that when one of your Uterra creatures comes into play, your non-Uterra creatures get +2 attack, +2 health? What is the name of that buff? So one person can claim it when they get it right. The first person to post that will get a booster of Beakers and Bones, and 1 reward per person, so you can't answer for both of them and get 2. In this case, we're only going to allow 1 guess per person, not multiple guesses until someone gets it. We're going to do a Price is Right style without going over how many campaign buffs are in the game currently. And I'm talking about things you can select when you're going through the campaign, not the card buffs, not counting those. So I want to make that clear. And I'll tell you what, if someone gets it on the head for how many I have, I will give them 2 boosters if they get it correct. But remember, everyone only gets 1 guess, so it's going to be without going over. We'll let this run until my next Railing the Forge video. Let me know how many different buffs can you get from campaign. 1 guess per person. Closest without going over gets a booster of Beakers and Bones. That's your 2 trivia questions. Good luck on them. One is definitely easier than the other, but hopefully you guys can have fun with that. That really does end my video. I appreciate you guys watching and sticking around this long. It ran a little bit longer than I had hoped, but still not bad. Hope you enjoyed watching the decks, and good luck with the trivia, and I'll catch you guys in and around the game. Take care.